I wish somebody would have sat me down and told me this sooner because I stayed in something way longer than I should have, thinking it was love, thinking I just needed to pray harder. But in reality, God was giving me clear warning signs that I just kept ignoring. So if you're a Christian woman and you feel confused, drained, or you're constantly questioning yourself in the relationship that you're in, this video is for you. Hey, my name is Brandy Robinson, and I help Christian women rebuild their strength, their confidence, and their identity in Christ after toxic relationships, mentally, physically, and spiritually. And everything I share is something that I've actually lived. I was in a relationship for many years that looked fine on the outside, but internally, I was lost, I was drained, I was confused, and honestly, I lost parts of my relationship with God. Honestly, I thought if I loved harder, if I prayed more, if I stayed longer, then things would eventually change. But what I didn't realize is that I was just ignoring what God was already revealing to me long before I said I do. So let's talk about it. Here are 5 signs that you may be in a toxic relationship. The first sign is you lost your peace. And I'm not just talking about a bad day, I'm talking about constant heaviness, confusion, and an emotional roller coaster. And this is where I had to check myself because in the Bible, in 1 Corinthians 14:33, it says, God is not the author of confusion, but of peace. So if you're in a relationship that feels confusing more than it does peaceful, then you're going to have to honestly ask yourself, is this truly from God? I remember my mind would always be racing, just trying to figure out things, trying to figure out why this person was acting this way, always walking on eggshells, always trying to watch what I say so I don't trigger this person to have a bad mood. And that's not of God. God's presence brings peace and it brings clarity. The second sign is that it's one sided. You're the one who's always constantly trying to fix everything. You're the one who's praying. You're the one who's trying to hold everything together. You're the one who's always making the effort to try to make it work. And they're just not meeting you there. They're just not seeing eye to eye with you. And they always want to argue. They always have a reason to not want to fix the problem and get to the solution of the problem. And God revealed to me that I am not meant to carry the relationship on my own. It takes two. In Ecclesiastes 4:9 through 10, it says, two are better than one because they help each other up. That means there should be mutual effort, mutual accountability, and mutual growth. And I know when I was in my marriage, I felt like I was the only one carrying everything emotionally and physically. And eventually, that is going to drain you. The third sign is that you become disconnected from God. You're so consumed with the relationship, the stress, the emotions, that God starts to be put on the back burner. You're spending less time with Him, you're not communicating with Him, and God is a jealous God, and He wants us to put Him first above any relationship, whether it's your spouse, your children. God comes first. And when that person becomes an idol, that's when you know that it's not of God. The Bible is very clear in Matthew 6:33 where it says to seek God, His kingdom, and His righteousness, to keep Him first above all things. Not the relationship, not the person, but God. I know that there were times in my relationship where I was just so emotionally tired and drained that I didn't find time to spend with God. Anything that pulls you away from God and not closer to Him, you really have to start questioning whether this is God's will for your life. The fourth sign is that you just keep justifying what you know isn't right. And I need to pause here and say something that's really important. If there's any form of abuse, whether it's physically, financially, emotionally, spiritually, that is not of God and that is not love. That is something that you're not required to pray through while staying in it. And in 2 Timothy 1:7, it says that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of love, power, and a sound mind. So if you're constantly feeling afraid, controlled, manipulated, torn down, That is not from God. And let's be real, abuse doesn't always come in the form of bruises or scars. Sometimes it comes in the form of being controlled financially, being manipulated emotionally, being constantly criticized or put down, being made to feel small, guilty, or afraid. That is not of God, and that is not love. And I want to be very clear when I say this. God does not require you to stay in a relationship where you are being abused. Enduring harm is not the same as being faithful, and a lot of women think that they have to stay in the relationship in order to be a godly woman or to be strong. God is not going to ask you to compromise your peace, your faith, your safety in order to prove your love or your self-worth to someone. You are still his daughter. You are still loved. You are still valuable. And you are not meant to live in fear. And over time, if you stay in this type of relationship, it's going to lead into my next sign, which is you don't recognize who you are anymore. Your confidence is gone. Your joy is gone. Your peace is gone. You feel lost. You feel confused. You just don't know who you are in Christ anymore. And that's when you have to remind yourself of what God says about you. He says that you are fearfully, wonderfully made, created in his image, created in his likeness, that you are worthy, that you are chosen, that you are set apart, that you are his daughter, that he loves you, that you are valuable. And to be honest, when I was in this relationship, I didn't feel any of these things. I felt broken. I felt worthless. I felt unlovable. I felt drained. I felt tired. I felt weak. And that's how I knew the relationship was out of alignment. It was not God's will for my life. In Jeremiah 29:11, it says, "For I know the plans that I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm for you, plans for a hope and a future." And being in that relationship where the harm, the disrespect, and the infidelity and the deception was taking place, none of that was what God's plans were for my life. And if you're in that type of relationship, then you need to sit with God and really ask Him to reveal to you what you need to do next. And I want to say this because I know it's a hard pill to swallow, as it was for me, that just because you love someone, it does not mean that person is meant for you. And just because you're a Christian woman, it doesn't mean that God is calling you to stay in something that is breaking you. Jesus said in John 10:10 that he came so that we can have life more abundantly, and that life does not include confusion, anxiety, depression, and emotional exhaustion. That's a life filled with peace, clarity, and wholeness. God does not want you stuck. He wants you healed. He wants you whole. He wants you walking fully and completely in your God-given purpose and identity. So if this spoke to you, please comment below and let me know what signs you've experienced, you are experiencing, so I can pray for you. And if you're on your healing journey, I have a free guide for you that will help you rebuild your mind, your body, and your spirit. I'll link it below. And make sure you like, subscribe, and share because we are going to go deeper into healing, faith, and transformation. And remember, God is not done with you yet. This is just the beginning. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.